right, we'll just give it a minute here to let everybody start to come in, and welcome everybody. So let's do some testing. We'll hit up chat, make sure you all can hear us, see us, and again, welcome to leveling up your cyber skills here with the folks from Write a Boom and our friends from MetaCTF. Can you guys all hear and see us okay? Just throw something in chat if you wouldn't mind. That's troubling. I can see people are on, but hopefully we have some people chime in. All right. So while you're all getting settled in, let me just kind of share. Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Maybe there was a slight delay. Oh wow, we have hey, Richard, welcome. Well, just for those of you out there that may not know, Richard was the CTF winner, the individual CTF winner, Roman, for the Write a Boom CTF. So Richard, congrats again. Job well done. So for those of you coming in hey Keith, we're expecting Kelvin today as well. Unfortunately, he is under the weather. And so today we're joined, and I'll do some intros in a minute, of course, by our MetaCTF founder, Roman Bohuk, and Chris Holt, who helps and handles Write a Boom's web dev, infrastructure, and all our back end. So Chris is going to be here answering any questions you may have about setting up accounts, etc. So providing some technical support. Awesome. Thanks, Travis. I'm glad you guys can all hear us now. So Roman, let me first introduce you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Let's do a quick intro. Then we'll do some screen sharing, jump on into, from setting an agenda, we'll jump on into Boom Games, which is, powered by your platform. It's, we've API'd into it. These are bi-weekly challenges. We'll walk through the platform. We're actually going to walk through some of the challenges that have been in there. We were really trying to, make sure all the platform was ready to go. Those challenges have been in there for probably a month or so. We'll walk through a few of them. We've, thanks to you, provided some new ones. Not that we're going to give you all the hints and clues, but kind of walk you through those a little bit. And then really this is about, letting others know there's no tariffs here, Roman. We don't have to worry about, even though Chris is on the other side of the pond, we're not going to, wherever you live, there's no, U.S. tariffs going on, no taxes. This is all free. And with the guise of, helping you guys improve your security maturity. So Roman, with that, let me hand it over to you for a quick intro and some screen sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So my name is Roman. I'm the co-founder of MetaCTF, and we run custom cybersecurity trainings. We specialize in hands-on labs, hands-on competitions. We've been around for several years. We ran the CTF at the Write a Boom conference. We go to a lot of other conferences, but we also do private trainings, assessments, hands-on competitions, all kinds of things for companies and organizations as well.
Yeah. And you guys are, I know Power, if you guys out there have heard of John Strand and any of the training from Black Hills Information Security, all those labs are powered by your platform. The live training labs are powered by your platform. And if you go to the MetaCTF website, there's some pretty significant companies that train their employees on your platform. And so we'll talk more about that afterwards. I know you're building a subscription model and things of that nature for people that really want to dig in and, get their teams together, challenge their teams. So that'll be a part 2 of our work today. But let's get into, if you need an account to Boom Games. Roman's going to just talk briefly about that, and then we'll get into some of the challenges as well.
Yeah, so you can set. So Boom Games is a mini CTF competition. It's open continuously. Usually there are about 15 challenges at any point in time. Every once in a while, we replace some of the challenges with new ones, so we can kind of cycle them through. Currently, the plan is to do it every 2 weeks, and so that's kind of you can usually expect every 2 weeks there's going to be a new challenge swapped out. It's running on, it's powered by our platform, but it's on the Reddit Boom website. It's kind of through an API connection, and so you can sign up for our platform directly on the Reddit Boom website. I think if you just create an account, verify your. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to do a little screen sharing so you can,
Sure,
so people can get a visual of what we're talking, and then that way you can get into it as well, Roman.
Yeah. So all you have to do is go to the website, click register and log in, click create an account right here, enter your information. For now, don't click Boom Games right here, just sign up. And it is going to send you an email where you can verify your account. Click the link in the email. From there, you'll be able to go to your platform, to your account, which will have a button right here that says sign up for Boom Games. So click here. For me, I'm already signed up, so it's not going to show that to me, but it's going to give you a checkbox that you can enter and sign up, and that way you're going to gain access to the environment. There still might be a few issues with login, and so if you have any questions, you can email us at support@metactf.com. Most likely, I'll just forward them to Chris. But yeah, if you run into any issues with emails not delivering, your account not being created, you can let us know. And we also, the same content is accessible through our platform as well, but this is, the scoreboard, everything is here. So once you sign up, all you have to do is click compete right next to this Boom Game CTF environment, and you'll see the 15. Well, currently there are 17 because I'm about to retire too, but there are usually 15 challenges in here that you can see. Most of them have some kind of resource that you might have to look at or analyze. Often they will have some kind of website or some kind of host that you need to connect to, and the challenges are split across different categories. The idea behind these challenges is that they teach, each challenge teaches some kind of bite-sized skill that would be relevant to you and your job. Obviously, not everything is, binary exploitation and some other categories is not something that you might encounter, in your day-to-day lives. But the idea behind these challenges is that they teach you various technical skills. That they encourage you to do some research on your own, and they help you get a better understanding of how these different various systems works. And so as you're solving this challenge, you're going to learn a lot of things along the way that will certainly be helpful. Before I jump into the challenges, anything else I should cover, Andrew or Chris?
It's good for me. And by the way, if you have questions, please submit them in chat. We'll be happy to answer them. Chris, anything from the technical or login side from your perspective?
From the technical and login side, there are a couple of issues with deliverability of email, which is kind of what Roman was hinting at, where we've stamped out as much as we could on that. But obviously, if there are any issues, give him a shout, give Andrew a shout, get through to us, and we'll dig into it. The last thing we want to do is freeze anyone out. And then the last thing I wanted to say on this view is if you're only interested in binary exploitation, or reverse engineering, you can click the tabs and just filter down.
Yep.
A really good point. By the way, Roman, do I have the support at MetaCTF correct in chat?
Yep.
Perfect.
That's correct.
All right. And if you can always email me personally, and we will jump on this and but we're at the final stages of making sure all the technicality is in place. So. All right, Roman. Yep. Why don't we talk a little bit about a few of the challenges we've had up there? I think
Sure.
one of the ones we really wanted to dig into first was flags over the wire, because this is something that, Wireshark is something that as an MSP, we can and probably should be using at times.
Yep. Yeah, and I can talk more about the format in general first. So these challenges are presented in a traditional Jeopardy style CTF format. It's a very popular cybersecurity competition. Often when you go to conferences, you will see a CTF or a capture the flag competition. Sometimes you might see something else. And Jeopardy style is a format where you're given challenges that cover a range of topics. They're usually independent from each other, and they look like this. So each challenge has a title, has a category. Right now they're color coded, and you can click on the categories to filter. Pay attention to the point value because that will give you an idea of how difficult the challenge is. If this is your first time participating, I would encourage you to start with some easier challenges and then move up to the harder ones. For example, right here, you can see that this 300-point challenge is one of the hardest ones in this environment.
How high can they go to, Roman? Just so they're aware of like what could they see real challenge.
I mean, it's really up to the competition organizers. So we usually have challenges from 50 points to 500 points.
Okay.
Usually 50-point ones are simply to test that you can connect to the platform. So it will just tell you the answer. So usually it's above 100 points.
Okay.
And then anything 400 points and above is very rare because those usually take several hours to solve.
Okay.
And they're very specialized. So most of the challenges here are going to be between 100 and maybe 300 points.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and so in addition to the title, pay attention to the title because it might give you some kind of hint. It might be a pun, some slight nudge in the right direction. In some cases, it won't, but definitely pay attention to it. And then there's this challenge statement, which is the core of the problem. Make sure you read it carefully. Once again, there might be some hints. Pay attention to the category that you're looking at. And usually there's going to be some kind of resource included as part of this description. So in this case, you can download a zip file that contains a binary for this binary exploitation challenge. And there's a host that you need to connect to in order to be able to exploit it remotely. So the idea behind binary exploitation challenges is that you're given some kind of binary, which is a compiled C, C++, Rust program, and you analyze it to find some kind of flaw that lets you change how this program is running and executing, change the execution flow based on the input that you provide during runtime. And usually that means there's some kind of buffer overflow vulnerability, heap overflow, stack overflow. And once you find the vulnerability and figure out how to exploit this binary locally, you can connect to this server using a tool called netcat and interact with it remotely and exploit it this way. The reason I'm saying this is because sometimes you will see challenges linked directly. Sometimes you will see challenges that look like this with an NC in front. This means that they're not, if you go to this in your browser on this port, it's not going to work. So if you see NC, you have to use a special tool called netcat in order to be able to connect to it. But once again, this is probably one of the hardest challenges in here, so you can skip it for now. Once the goal of each challenge is to find a flag. The flag usually looks like the word MetaCTF. It might not have the word MetaCTF, but it usually has a curly brace and then some kind of string separated with underscores. So for example, MetaCTF, this is the flag. Once you find something that looks like this, that means you solve the challenge, and you can enter that string that you found into this field, click submit, and that way you'll get the points. And once you get the points, if you go back to the previous page, you'll see a scoreboard. And the individual that gets the most points ends up ranking higher. The grader is pretty lenient. So if you just submit the middle part, if you forget to include an underscore, if you capitalize one of the letters, it's still going to accept the answer, And the idea behind this is that once you find the answer, we don't want you to struggle kind of submitting it in the right format. As long as you found something that is correct, we'll accept various variations of that string. So the two challenges that we're going to be retiring today are, one is in the forensics category called flags over the wire, and the other one is in the reconnaissance category called rogue hosts. I'm going to start with the forensics one, flags over the wire. So if we read the challenge, it's purple, so it's in the forensics category, and it says, when two computers communicate over a network, they exchange tens, hundreds, or perhaps thousands of packets. These connections send data over protocols such as SSH, HTTP, FTP. Here, we've managed to record a packet capture between two computers talking over FTP. One of them downloaded a file from the other. Can you recover the file they downloaded in this packet capture? So we're given a file to download. If we download it, it's going to give us a PCAP file. And in order to use it, you have to use a tool called Wireshark. You can install or download it. It's a pretty well-known tool. You can run on Linux, Windows, Mac. It should support all operating systems. So I'm going to open up that file, and we're going to see various packets of these two machines communicating with each other. There are a few different, so even if you weren't given any hints in the challenge description, there are a few different ways you can analyze this. You can start looking at the different protocols that are being used. You can right-click and follow different streams and kind of see the different things that are happening. But specifically in the challenge, we were told that we found a packet capture between two computers talking over FTP. So this is what we need to focus on. So if I go back to Wireshark, there are a few different ways I can do this. So first, I can simply look through the different packets until I find the FTP packet. I can right-click on that packet and follow the TCP stream. What this will do is it will take all of the packets that are part of the same communication stream, merge them together, and show me color-coded which, kind of the transmission. The nice thing about FTP is that it's a plain text protocol, so there's no, by default, there's no encryption in plain FTP, and all the commands are pretty human readable. So here we can see that we've connected to the FTP server. We, as the client, enter the user hacker. It asks us to specify the password. We enter the password. We logged in. We, I guess, send it. I'm not quite sure what these commands mean, but I guess found some information about the host. And eventually, we retrieved a file called flags.zip. We don't see this file in this stream, which suggests that it was probably downloaded over a separate connection. And so if I increase my stream, so right here, I can either find the stream directly in this view, or I can simply cycle through them directly in Wireshark. And if I click right here, let's see what I'm looking at. Some TCP. So this looks like a listing of the files. Oh, and here we have the zip file. So the reason why I know this is a zip file is because all zip files start with the bytes PK. This is something that you learn over time. But even if you didn't know this, you could look in the information about this packet and see kind of what's being sent. So that we see that this is the retrieval of flags.zip. There are a few different ways to extract this out of Wireshark. An easy way is I can convert this to raw, and I can copy the string, and I can use a tool called CyberChef to decode it from CyberChef to decode it from hex. So I see. Looks like I need to from hex. So here we can see the exact same output we saw in Wireshark. And the reason I did this instead of copying just this string is because all of these different characters that you see right here in red, they don't play nice when you try to copy and paste them. And so that's why I converted to this format first. From here, we can see this file. Just to verify what kind of file it is, I can use a tool called identify file type, detect file type, and it's going to tell me that it's a zip archive. I could extract it from here directly, extract zip. So what this detect file type command is doing, it's the same command as running a command called file in Linux. It's gonna give you the same output, and all it does, it just looks at the first few bytes of the file, called magic bytes, and it tells you what the file extension file format is based on those magic bytes. So I detect file type. I'm going to remove this because the output of this command is not a zip file anymore. And then I should be able to extract the zip file. I guess, let me try this. No, zip, unzip, unzip. So I couldn't do it here. So I'll have to, it's possible that the file was broken across several streams. Or maybe it's just having difficulty. Okay, there it is. I just didn't paste the whole thing. And it's going to tell us there's this flags PNG image right here that right now my CyberChef is broken, but usually would render it. So that's one way you can extract this file. The other way is Wireshark actually comes built in with several tools that let you analyze some of the most common protocols, built in into Wireshark. And so if I simply go to File, Export Objects, and I select FTP data, it's going to automatically look through all of the packets and find all of the files that have been downloaded over FTP. So here we can see flags.zip was downloaded from hostname. So what I can do here is I can just simply save this file and just analyze it the same way as I analyzed the I analyzed it in CyberChef. So here is that file. I can open it up. There's flags.png. And if I open this file, once it opens, it's going to show me the flag. And so if you enter this into the portal, it's going to give you the points. Anything else I should mention about this challenge? How any questions you have with the process about kind of the tools that I used, the techniques that I used?
Yeah, Roman, let's see if there's any questions that come in. But can you, you were, a three-time champion, and many people don't know that, but in CTFs. But talk about the applicability here. Like, okay, is we're talking PCAP. Is it, hey, I'm I can improve my skills in terms of security and analytics. Maybe some people are SOC analysts watching. Or aspire to be.
Yeah.
But talk to us about like the importance of analyzing PCAPs and what this is really intending to do.
Yeah, I mean, so as a cybersecurity professional, you interact with hundreds of different tools. Maybe if you might have a pretty like specialized role, and so in those cases you might not. But a lot of people have to, as a security professional, you have to have a pretty good understanding of a lot of different topics. Things about how networks work, how web servers work, how servers work in general. Like there are a lot of different concepts. If you're trying to secure a system, you have to have a pretty good in-depth understanding of all these different layers and levels and systems. CTFs are good because they encourage. They're a really fun way to learn about these different tools. I mean, if you participate in a lot of CTFs, eventually you'll probably cover all the different tools that you use in your day-to-day job. Since there are only 15 challenges, it only covers a certain subset of tools and skills that you need. But the nice thing about CTFs is that they not only teach you how to use the specific tool, for example, in this case, Wireshark, they also teach you how to research on your own, how to find tools, how to approach problems, how to solve these technical challenges on your own. So if you, if you're in a SOC role, you probably need to know what Wireshark is. And so this is a great challenge that it teaches you how to use Wireshark, how to use the different features within Wireshark, how to analyze packets, how to look at packets, how to filter packets. If you're not in a SOC role, and you probably don't use Wireshark in your day-to-day tasks, this is a good challenge because it teaches you problem-solving skills that are transferable to the things that you do in your job. I think it's a very important skill, and so if you're not sure where to start, you should try to understand kind of the context of what it is that you're looking at. So for example, if I take a step back and I don't know what Wireshark is, I would look at the file extension, I would look at the challenge description, and I would start Googling kind of what are PCAP files, what do they mean, how do I analyze PCAP files? Then you would learn about Wireshark, you would install Wireshark, you would do some more research on how to use Wireshark, how to use the different features of it, and eventually find the answer. And this kind of skill, I often see a lot of people lack, even though it sounds like a very basic skill. I think it's something that people need to practice.
It's interesting you say that, Roman, because John Strand talks a lot about, this is a man that's trained tens of thousands of people in security, if not more. And he talks about the fundamentals. Often people that are in security analyst roles that are missing the basics, which is why he's, created, SOC core skills, intros to security, things of that nature. So I think that's a really good point. Devin asked a question, Roman. He says, I understand why to follow the streams, but in this type of challenge, would it be beneficial to go to file export FTP data instead of following the streams first?
Yeah, I mean, if you know exactly what you're looking at, then that's definitely the easier solution. The way I kind of approached it is not a lot of people. So in some cases, you might not have been told to look at FTP data, and so you might see HTTP traffic, FTP traffic, MySQL traffic, all kinds of traffic in the same file. And so in that case, using different tools like follow streams or statistics or some kind of analysis would be useful because you're not sure what it is that you're looking at. You're trying to get a sense of what kind of data is coming through. In this challenge, I definitely, exporting FTP data would have worked. I think there are even other solutions. So for example, I can probably solve this without using Wireshark altogether, or without using Wireshark at all. If I go to CyberChef again, and I simply upload the PCAP file, I might be able to just extract the zip file out of it directly without even opening up Wireshark at all. Because what this tool is going to do is look through all of the bytes inside of this file and try to find things that are that look like images, zip files, etc., and give you the answer this way. Yeah, so there are 3, 5, 4 different ways to solve this, and if you know what you're doing, jumping straight to the solution, definitely makes sense. But if you've never used Wireshark, you can reach the same answer in a different way.
Yeah, great question, Devin. Keep them coming. I think that was really, really good. And I think, again, what you're saying, Roman, is it's the exploration of these tools, right? Also, right? I've never used Wireshark as an example. So awesome. Want to move on to the next one?
Yep. Let's see. So the next challenge that I wanted to walk through was in the reconnaissance category, and it's called rogue hosts. And it says, while inventorying devices and servers in our network, our team stumbled upon a server at mystery.metaproblems.com, but we don't remember what it does and we can't connect to it. Can you help us figure out what's going on? Let's see. So
So before you start, just one quick question. So I'm not going to pronounce I'll just go with N. N says, any concerns with using these online tools from a security or privacy perspective, Roman?
Absolutely. I mean, so if you're using these tools at your job, and think twice before you do, because if it's proprietary data, if it's some kind of confidential information that you have it on your work laptop, you may not want to upload it to some kind of third-party service. Specifically in capture the flag competitions, I actually do prefer online tools because I don't have to download and analyze as many things on my laptop, and I can simply, I mean, there's always, for example, if I'm participating in a competition organized by somebody I don't trust, there's always a risk that there might be something malicious or sneaky in that file, and so I would almost rather just send that to some kind of third-party service to analyze versus having to do it myself on my own machine. And specifically in our competitions, so we don't care if you upload our files to online tools because the challenge is already public anyway. So if you if some other tool has access to it, it doesn't really change anything. But in your day-to-day job, you should use kind of local or or tools that you're authorized to use by a company. The nice thing about CyberChef is that it's not really a third-party tool. So CyberChef was designed by, I'm pretty sure, the UK government as a tool that they can put inside of classified networks. So if you don't want to use this online version, you can simply download CyberChef. Let me see. Something broke somewhere. You can simply download CyberChef to your own machine and run it locally without having to use the hosted version of it. And even when you use the hosted version, all of the data that you send is still saved locally in your browser. It's not actually sent to their servers. So in this case, CyberChef is an exception, and it's a very powerful tool. But if you are concerned about that, you can always download your own version of it and just open it locally in an isolated network. Does that answer the question?
Yes, perfect. Thanks for the question, by the way, and thanks for the explanation.
Yeah. And so in this question, we're tasked with connecting and learning more about the server on our network. So this is probably pretty relevant to MSPs, or any company that has some kind of has a lot of IT resources. Often you might have an employee set up some kind of machine, set up some kind of service, set up some kind of server, and if you're not keeping a very up-to-date inventory of everything, there might be some services, there might be some servers, there might be some machines on the network that you're not quite sure what they do. For example, somebody might have connected a security camera or some kind of IoT device to your corporate Wi-Fi network. Maybe they had the permission at the time, but nobody documented that. And so then you have a machine somewhere that you're, on your network that you're not sure what it does. And in this challenge, you're given that kind of machine, and you're asked to figure out what it does. So if you do some research about, analyzing hosts on the, network hosts, you'll probably encounter a tool called Nmap. Similar to Wireshark, Nmap is probably one of the most common tools, one of the most well-known security tools. And the way it works is you simply type Nmap, you type in the address of the machine that you're trying to analyze, and you click enter. So it's going to take a few seconds, and it's going to say, oh, host seems down. Oh well. So that's not actually the case. The way Nmap works without any special flags is it simply tries to do a ping scan over the ICMP protocol. And if it doesn't successfully ping the host, it assumes that it's down. In this case, this machine is running, but it is blocking pings. And so So you need to use the PN flag in order to be able to scan it properly. So I'm going to change the nmap command, add PN, and try it again. Well, and by the way, if you simply enter this IP address into a browser, it's not going to work because there's no HTTP port open on or server running on port 80. Now that we ran nmap and skipped the ping scan, it told us that there is one port that's open. It's port 3389, and it's running MSWT server. So this is, if you look up this port, it's going to tell you that it's Windows RDP. Especially if you deal a lot with Windows systems, you might you probably have this port number memorized. And we can test this. For example, I can take this. I can open up my RDP client, put it in, and connect. It's going to try to connect, and eventually it's going to fail. So even though you found that this port was open, that's not the solution just yet. Ports are just numbers, and you can run any kind of service on any kind of port. But by default, when you go to a website and you see that it doesn't have any port number specified, usually that means that it's running on port 80 or 443 if it's using HTTPS. You can change that port number very easily. I can host a web server on port 3389. I can host a MySQL server on port 3389. And nmap has a nice feature that lets you scan the version and the service that's also running on that port. So I'm going to modify my command, and I'm going to add another flag called -sv, or maybe it's sv. Let's try this. It stands for version scan or something along those lines. And what it's going to do is it's going to connect to this port, and it's going to try a few different. It's going to look at the packets that are sent back, at the header, at the messages, and try to analyze, figure out the version. I might have mistyped it. Let's see. There it is. So it ran. It told us that port 3389 is still open, but instead of running an RDP service, it's actually running a service called Redis, and Redis is a key value store program. So that's kind of the trick that you had to figure out using nmap. And so now instead of using RDP, which is not going to work because there is no RDP, you can use a tool called Redis CLI to connect to that host on port 3389. Maybe I'm not sure about the exact command. Let me see. Well, we'll just Google Redis CLI specify port. Let's see if we can find some documentation. Port. Okay. -H-B. So I'm going to change my command, add -H, and add -B right here. And here we have connected to the Redis server on this host. So if you read the documentation, you will learn about two different commands. One is called keys. So this will list all of the Redis data keys that are available on the server, and then all I have to do is type get flag to get the value of this key, and that's going to be the answer right here. Yeah, so this covers the rogue host challenge. Just to summarize, what you had to do is you had to run nmap against this host to figure out that it has something running on port 3389, and then you had to use version detection and service detection within nmap to figure out that service running on port 3389 is actually a Redis service, a Redis server, and connect to it using an appropriate tool. I skipped a few steps because I know the solution, and I worked with a lot of these tools before. But the idea behind this is that if you've never worked with Nmap, if you've never worked with Redis, you would actually do, at every step you would do some research and you would Google, how does Redis work? What is Redis? What is Nmap? What are the different Nmap flags you can specify to eventually find the answer? And if you're really stuck after a long time and you can't find the solution, you're always welcome to email us and we can give you a hint. Yeah, because this is meant to be a learning environment, and so we're happy to help you learn.
Great. Really great, Roman. Questions on that one, and while you're maybe popping your questions in, Roman, you mentioned applicability for MSPs here.
Yep.
Now that you run through it, can you maybe just 30, 60 seconds unpack, how you'd see that, being used in day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is that's a very relevant challenge, because even in our company, we host a lot of our infrastructure in AWS, and we have pretty good logging, and we have an inventory of the things that we run. But occasionally, there might be some kind of service, there might be some kind of virtual machine that we spin up for one reason or another, and then after we stop using it, we forget to terminate it, and then a month goes by, and then everybody forgets what it was for. And so there are a lot of different ways to figure out what it does, but this is one of them. Is you simply see what it's doing, and try to connect to it. Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's really important for a lot of techs to understand the lower level protocols that drive the web, for example. So understanding about TCP ports and connecting to them, for example, as you were playing along, as you were going through the NC, so the Nmap stuff, I didn't know the -SV piece, so I telnetted to that port and got my answer that way on that port.
Yep.
So understanding that, and the same with a couple more, especially around web exploitation. That's my that's my bag, and so understanding how HTTP requests work is also really good, especially as we move everything to web-based stuff and SaaS and PaaS. It's always really helpful to have a knowledge of these things, and these the games have been really cool to kind of go through. They're really fun as well. I've enjoyed the ones I've done, especially subsea searching that you've got completed there. I particularly enjoyed that one because that's very different.
Okay, so Devin looks like another question here, Roman. Let me rattle it off to you. I think it's worth mentioning that I always use flags SV and SC when running Nmap. Are there any other flags you can recommend for every scan, or do you kind of add them as needed?
I usually add them as needed, because every flag you add to Nmap just increases the time it takes for Nmap to run. I think the other main one I would add, well, for example, every time you run an Nmap scan, make sure that you specify just the host or just the IP range that you're trying to scan, because if you give it an entire network, unless you're trying to scan an entire network, it's gonna take a really long time. By default, Nmap only checks for the most common ports. I think maybe it's like the top 80 or top 1,000, top 100 most common ports used by services. And so if you're really trying to analyze one specific host, I would also make sure that you scan for more ports, not just the most common ones, because that can reveal more things. But I think those ones are the ones that you mentioned, SV, SC, are the main ones. Yeah. So what the SC flag does, for those who don't know, is that I think also runs some scripts that Nmap has, and it tries to collect information about vulnerabilities, about headers, just to make your Nmap scans a little bit more informational. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for the question.
I was going to piggyback on what Chris said. Yeah, so you can use all these different tools to, you can use a browser to connect to HTTP. You can use Redis CLI to interact with the Redis server. You can use an FTP client to interact with an FTP server. But all of those protocols, as we saw in Wireshark, they're plain text and they're pretty simple. So if you look at this protocol, you'll see that the messages sent back and forth are plain English. And a tool like Netcat that I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have an understanding of different fancy protocols. All it cares about is TCP. It only knows TCP, and it lets you send information back and forth. And so I can actually interact with this Redis service the same way. If I learn about how the Redis protocol works, I can use a tool like this to gather information about the host, and try to solve this challenge in a different way. Yep. Yep. Any other questions? Anything else I can cover? So there, if anybody's typing, I can mention that there are 2 new challenges that we just released. There's one called, I think, spam, and there's one forensics one called eventful file system. So for spam, I'm just going to quickly hint that CyberChef should be sufficient to solve this challenge. And then for the forensics one, let's see. For this one, you most likely will need to use some kind of tool to analyze this. I would encourage you to set up a Kali virtual machine or Windows virtual machine so that you can use these different tools inside of your inside of the virtual machine instead of installing it directly on your host. If you email us, we can give you some free hours inside of our browser accessible virtual machine as well. But you will need to find a specialized tool to parse this, and then once you do, look at the folder names. So that's the hint.
Great, thanks for that, Roman. Do you want to kind of close us out by just sharing a little bit about what you're working on at MetaCTF? For those that maybe have never seen what real MetaCTF is, and you guys have built a great platform.
Yeah, so we do all kinds of things. So primarily we specialize in running custom capture flag competitions. So it's very similar to this, but we use our own platform. We have virtual machines. We have a lot more kinds of challenges. For example, if you're interested in application security, if you're interested in LLM security, all kinds of things, we can. We have a lot of content that covers a lot of different topics, and we pick the content for the audience. We also help organizations recruit. So, for example, if you're familiar with HackerRank, where you might ask a developer to solve some programming questions, we can do something similar where you might ask a security professional, answer a few questions, demonstrate their technical ability through some of these hands-on challenges. We also run free monthly CTFs. We call them flash CTFs. Our next one is going to be on March 27th, next Thursday, 5 p.m. It's 2 hours, 5 challenges. We usually get over 1,000 participants every month, and it's only 1 or 2 of those challenges are relatively easy. So if you've never done a CTF before, it might be a little bit tough, for first-time participants. But we publish the solutions immediately after. So even if you don't get to solve all of them within the first 2 hours, you can just look at the solutions right after. Yeah.
That's great, Roman. And if people are interested, Roman, where would they find that and sign up? That's for the challenge. Can you put that in?
Yeah. So
shoot it over to the chat here, and I'll put it in public chat. Yeah.
So this is the link to our next Flash CTF. So this link will automatically update every month. Well, here, let me update it. This will always direct you to the one for next month.
Okay. So if you want to grab a big glass of Merlot at 5 p.m. on Friday, or I don't know, Chris, maybe for you, it's bourbon. I'm not sure what you're going to be doing.
Bourbon, whiskey, Merlot. Well, just reminds me of a movie called Sideways when I hear Merlot. But yeah, basically, if it's tasty and alcoholic, I'll enjoy myself.
All right.
Nice.
Well, I appreciate everybody joining. Roman, Chris, thanks for hosting this. Thanks for kicking off what we will, start doing on a maybe monthly basis in terms of these going over the challenges. But we'll stay tuned for we'll update this ideally every few weeks, get you new challenges, and we'll let you know when new challenges have been added. And again, share it with peers, let them know there's no toll to use the system. It's really about improving the overall channel and getting everybody better. So again, appreciate you all sitting in here, and on behalf of all of us, wishing you all a great day. Thanks so much. Thanks, Roman.
Thanks everyone.